to Part 1 of Competency 19. For this competency, the teacher understands how children learn and develop mathematical skills, procedures, and concepts. In this video, we will work with different types of assessments. Number 1, which of the following describes a formal assessment? Okay, do not confuse this with formative, all right? All right, so a small group discussion. The fact that it's a discussion makes it informal, and that would not be formal, so let's mark that out. Okay, all right, there we go. All right, B, evaluations such as tests, quizzes. Okay, they had me test with test and a quiz. And cumulative also, even though it's projects, that's still a good formal assessment. So I'm going to say B. Let's look at C. High stakes exams only. No, like a STAR test. No, that's not the only formal assessment out there. Now, D, warm-ups and exit tickets. That's more of an informal information gathering, just to see how we're doing and are we ready for what we've done and what have we learned, all right? So B is the best option. Now let's look at number 2. When is the best use of informal assessments? Okay. Let's look at A. During test corrections. No, they've already taken the test. That's just not a good time. You've already got the formal information, so you've got data that you need. So that's really not a good time. All right. So let's look at B. As students complete a project, well, not actually. That's the time to assess them. You really want to assess them informally before you start the project to see if they're prepared for it in the first place. So I don't think that's going to help us out as far as a project. Let's look at C. Before students take a unit test. Well, I agree with that because technically a project can be a unit test. Absolutely. You're at the end of a section, a unit, or some chapter, and you've given them the information. They've got all the abilities now. Can they follow through with a real world situation? So I'm thinking C is good. Let's look at D. After each unit test, well, that would be like A. You've already given them the formal assessment. Why would you want to informally assess them? Okay, so D would be out. Okay. Now let's look at number 3. Which of the following is a type of formal assessment? Select all that apply. Okay, let's see what we have here. A, SAT. Okay, and it says, oh, not formal. I read that wrong. Formative. Okay, that's what threw me. So no, like I said before, be careful with the words. It doesn't say formal, it says formative. So this is like a situation where you just need to make sure that the students are ready for the next step. You don't want to do anything for a grade. You're just going to go around and see how we're doing. Something in the door, out the door, exit ticket, something like that. So you don't want the SAT. High stakes, well, as a formative, that doesn't even make sense. Now, what about a direct proof? Well, that would be a formal situation after they've learned. So I wouldn't agree with that one. A weekly quiz. Oh, absolutely. That would tell you as you go every week, how are we doing? Yeah, you might take a grade on it, but it's more for your information. It's not something you're going to formally pass on to administration. This is just talking with the kids, and maybe other teachers in the that teach the same thing. Say, hey, my kids are doing like that. They're doing this. We're doing okay. We need more, whatever. And D is the same thing, biweekly required test. That's something where it's not at the end of the unit, but you're trying to work them up. Are we okay? Do I need to go back and do some mini teaches? So I would say D. Let's look at the rest of these. Semester tests, no. That is very formal, and that would be district wide. So then STAR test, no, that's a high stakes test. So obviously doesn't go under this category. District benchmark, no. That's also, we could say, kind of high stakes. So, and very formal. Okay, formal situations. So, no. So, we really only have two that apply, which is just that nice scheduled gathering. That's part of it. We have weekly and biweekly. That tells you it's a scheduled information gathering for your educational purposes. All right, let's go to number 4. Number 4, which of the following can be used as a summative assessment? Select all that apply. That's a situation where you want to see everything the student has achieved or mentally collected for an extended time period. Well, let's look at our options. Obviously, A, ACT test, absolutely. That would be over time. Okay, several years actually. B, chapter test. Yes, I totally agree that that would be over an extended time period. So let's select that one. Now, weekly quiz. No, that's not enough time to get a good feel of what the student has learned. It's just a tiny snapshot. So you don't want anything that would be a snapshot. And D would be the same. Biweekly? No, that's just a little snapshot. But now let's look at E. TSI test? Yeah, that's the one that you take before you go to college to see what you're ready for, especially mathematically. Remember, they you do take a math section. So I would agree with that one. And then a vocabulary test, no. That's not a overall. What that is lacks is that's just some vocabulary over a little bit. That doesn't give you all of the subject area. So that would be a snapshot of the subject, not a time period snapshot, but just a snapshot of a little section of info. So that wouldn't work. Let's look at number 5 now. Which of the following question types are best to use on a summative assessment? Select all that apply. Let's see here. A, fill in the blank. Oh, yes. And STAR does that. They use that now. Remember, STAR is no longer, or because of the digital world, and we may not have STAR anymore. They always change the test up if you guys haven't figured this out over the years. But either way, fill in the blank is a good one. Let's look at B. Group presentation. No, not on a summative, and that doesn't really focus in on an individual student. Let's see. Multiple choice questions. Obviously, those are used on all high stakes type tests, summative tests. Let's see. Next one, matching. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good one. And let's see. E, discussion questions. Absolutely not. That's more of a formative informal. It gives you information as an educator, but I would not turn that in to the powers that be to judge your students. Okay, F, multi-selection questions. Well, yeah, uh, they could have drop-down boxes within a sentence, things like that. So, yes, absolutely. There was different versions of that. Now, let's look at number 6. Which of the following question types would assess students' understanding of midlines in triangles and trapezoids and be best used as an assessment? Man, that is a loaded question. First off, you're talking about midlines and the rules for midlines, okay? And I'm going to look at A. I disagree with vocabulary. Vocabulary is not going to help you with that at all. Let's look at B. Questions regarding two images of a triangle and trapezoid. No, that's not going to help you with those, uh, the midline itself. And there are rules that are actually, you would have values, so that's not going to help. Let's see. C. multiple choice questions relating to one image that shows midline segments that create trapezoids and triangles. Okay, now I believe I like that one, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Calculator's not going to help you with this. If you've noticed, the calculator isn't going to help us with this particular video at all. Okay. But let me show you what I mean by this. You're going to have, you could do a triangle and then have a trapezoid. This type of image, it would help you, or even this type of image. And then you could have various questions that would go with that and maybe some numbers. So I agree with the fact that you had multiple choice with one image. I like that. But let's look at D. Image that contains midlines, trapezoids, and triangle that must be labeled with names and values. That's just a labeling exercise. That's not going to help you with their full understanding. I mean, that's not going to take it to that next rigor level. So D's not going to get you to that overall rigor to test the student fully on their information, their knowledge. Okay. All right. This is the last question in this video. And again, I'm going to mention that we didn't use a calculator. So for this particular last competency 19, there will be calculator use in this. So don't think on the test you're not going to see that. And you'll see that in the future videos for this section. All right, I wanted to thank you guys for sharing, liking, subscribing, and just in general, just watching to the end of the video. And for those of you who have passed your test, congratulations and kudos to you. And I want to wish everyone happy testing.